welcome to Morning News. My name is Marvelous Chibagidi, and joining me this beautiful morning is
Nicole Madziwa, and thank you for watching Technic TV. And this is Morning News, where we bring you what is in our local papers and also what we have on our online news platforms.
So from the Newsday this morning, we have the headline, Acid Test for Mnangagwa.
From the Daily News, ED throws top ally under bus.
Government workers to hold protest is another headline running from the Daily News.
Moving on to the Herald. Gumbo in $37 million corruption storm.
Still on the Herald, government meets civil servants today.
Those were the news headlines from our local papers, and now for the news in detail.
So from the Newsday, we read the headline, Acid Test for Mnangagwa, and the story in detail. Police have given the green light for government workers to demonstrate for higher wages in what is seen as an acid test for President Emmerson Mnangagwa's tolerance to dissent. The police nod for tomorrow's demonstration came as the law enforcement agents have this year banned anti-government protests by opposition parties and civic groups, prompting fears that Zimbabwe was sliding into the dark days of repression. So the civil servants demo set for tomorrow has been given the green light.
So we will be giving you updates
on that. And hopefully the demonstration bears fruits with what exactly the results that the civil servants want. And I know one of the top issues that they want to discuss with the government is a pay rise.
Moving on to the Daily News, ED throws ally under bus as another minister is arrested on corruption allegations. The march, do you want to take that one?
Okay, let me take that one. The match-aligned Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, ZAC, made another huge statement yesterday when it arrested Policy Implementation and Monitoring Minister Joram Gumbo, perceived to be close to President Emmerson Mnangagwa, over allegations of corruption involving $3.7 million. The Daily News reports. Gumbo's surprise arrest comes as Mnangagwa is preparing to reshuffle his misfiring cabinet, and growing calls for him to drop some of his close allies who have been listed among forming ministers. It also came barely 3 months after the arrest of former Environment, Tourism and Hospitality Industry Minister Priska Mufumira over a slew of allegations relating to a time when she was Public Service and Minister. So the arrest of Joram Gumbo is probably
Wednesday, which is tomorrow, in what is widely seen as a test of President Emmerson Mnangagwa's willingness to tolerate dissent. So this is more or less like the same story
we read
that we read earlier on, so we're not going to get much into the details.
So moving on, well, we'll move on to the next couple of stories because some of the stories are not actually much clear. So we'll move on to the next couple of stories. From the Herald, President to open NAST Innovation Hub. President Mnangagwa will this Friday officially commission the National University of Science and Technology NAST Innovation Hub here during the institution's 25th graduation ceremony. NAST Director of Communication and Marketing, Mr. Felix Moyo, said all is set for the commissioning. So we'll be giving you the details on Friday or Saturday of the Innovation Hub in Bulawayo at the National University of Science and Technology.
Still on the Herald, considers ZDF for capital projects, says Parliament. Parliament has recommended that government considers awarding tenders of capital projects such as road construction to the Zimbabwe Defence Forces, ZDF, which has some of the most skilled engineers in the region. The suggestion was made at the pre-budget seminar in Victoria Falls as parliamentarians said the ZDF has competent engineers who can implement projects at lower rates than private developers, therefore cutting on government spending. Norton Member of Parliament, Mr. Temba Mluiswa, made the suggestion during discussions following a presentation by Defence and War Veterans Affairs Minister Obam Chinguri Kashiri, who appealed to Treasury for resources to improve conditions of service for the defense forces.
RBZ to inject $2 bond coins, and this is coming from the Herald. The new $2 bond coin goes into circulation next Monday. The news was given yesterday in a statement by Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe RBZ Governor Dr. John Mangunjwa and follows last week's announcement of the impending introduction of the coin plus the $2 and $5 notes. The new coin and notes will circulate alongside the existing bond notes and coins. The new coin is similar to the present $1 bond coin. The $2 bond coin will have the following features and characteristics. Firstly, a bimetal with the outer rim being copper nickel plated and the inner core being aluminium bronze plated. Secondly, a serrated rim profile with a groove and edge lettering. Thirdly, inscription of the words $2 bond coin and the numeral and symbol $2 on the observed side. And lastly, inscription of the letters RBZ and the numeral 2018 on the reverse side. So the wait is over. On Monday we'll have the coins in circulation. But why the coins first and then the notes?
I have no idea.
The notes haven't been printed yet?
Probably. I don't know. It's a mystery.
Okay, so you don't have to wait any longer. On Monday, the coins will be in circulation. And please remember that they'll be working alongside the bond coins that we're already using. Don't think that the bond coins are, for now, we don't know the future, but for now the bond notes ain't going anywhere.
Okay, still on the Herald, Treasury revises 2020 budget ceiling. And the story they read. Government has revised next year's expenditure ceiling from 28 billion by over 30% in light of inflation and the need to grow the economy. This was said by Finance and Economic Development Minister Professor Mthuli Ncube in a report titled 2020 Pre-Budget Parliamentary Consultation Meetings October 30 to November 4, 2019. According to the pre-2020 budget strategy paper, revenues are projected at 24.8 billion, which is 11.8% of the GDP next year, while expenditures are estimated at 28.5 billion, which is 13.6% of the GDP. But Professor Ncube said this year is unique due to a high inflationary environment, and hence I would like to announce that total expenditure ceiling is being revised upwards from 28 billion by a factor of above 30%. So when you look at that picture, there's a roughly, the amount of which ministry is going to get allocated how much. Yeah.
No, these are they require, because we can't say they're going to get them allocated.
Of
because
course,
it's
absolutely.
their allocation. It depends with what's in our treasury.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that's what they require: the defense, agriculture, and so forth. Soldier guns down wife, kills self. We're still at the Herald. A soldier reportedly shot and killed his wife and seriously injured his mother-in-law before killing himself by the same gun following a misunderstanding at their home in Manyame Park, Chitungwiza early yesterday morning. The soldier attached at Kaguvi Barracks, formerly Old Cranbourne Barracks, but based in Mashingo, was later found dead in a garden in the area after allegedly committing suicide using his service gun, an AK-47 rifle. The motive for the murder cases and attempted murder case remains unclear, but it is alleged that the two were on separation with the wife living with her mother. The incident occurred around 3 a.m.
So sad.
Our condolences to the family of the deceased lady, and hopefully that the injured mother recovers. And it's like, I remember I was talking to Nicole like in the background, and we were saying mental health issues and even suicide are just some things that we really need to talk about in our society. So, moving on.
Moving on more interesting news, I would say. Zim seeks to extract diesel from coal. That's another story, of course, from the Herald. Zimbabwe is working on the possible production of diesel from its vast untapped coal resources in the Zambezi Valley, with the first feasibility study expected at the end of the month. Although no timeline has been made public as to how long it might take to establish structures or what direct or indirect conversion process would be used, the government thinks it is one of the solutions to the country's future energy needs. However, high levels of investments will be needed, as it is likely to take several years before refineries are commissioned. If both potential investments are viable, then Zimbabwe could be in time replace half of its imported diesel with synthetic fuels similar to what Sasol does in South Africa. So that is what the government is saying there.
Do you know what I thought of? About that whole thing with diesel that was found in Chinoy.
Right? It's like deja vu.
But you never know, maybe it's actually something that's legit and that can actually bring forth some fruits, and we get diesel within our own country. And moving on to the Herald Finance and Business, we have the headline, $14 million funding for Gwanda Solar. The 100 megawatt Gumbo solar project has received fresh impetus after a local infrastructure fund, African Transmission Corporation ATC Holdings, agreed to extend $14 million to finance the first 10 megawatts of the project under a phased construction model. ATC financed 2.5 megawatts, phase 1 of the 25 megawatts centigrade photovoltaic project in Nyabira, which entered commercial operations on August 1, 2019, while phase 2 of 22.5 megawatts will commence shortly once funders' due diligence is completed. If it materializes, the funding provides an avenue and opportunity for Gwanda Solar, dodged by controversy of alleged financial misuse, abuse, and implementation delays, to contribute to reducing the country's crippling power deficit. So if their funding for the Gwanda solar program goes through, then that means some relief, some respite for the Gwanda residents when it comes to power issues.
Well, moving on to another story there. Harare City to switch from Lake Chivero to Manyame. That's from the Daily News. Harare City Council and the government yesterday resolved to switch water sources from Lake Chivero to Manyame River to address acute water shortages in the capital and surrounding areas. The latest plan was made when President Emmerson Mnangagwa toured Morton Jeffrey Waterworks. Speaking at the tour, Mnangagwa said government would draft a plan and budget to switch from Lake Chivero to Manyame, and I quote, "I am told that it is much cheaper to use water from Manyame than from Lake Chivero, which is highly polluted, hence the preferred switch to utilize Manyame River as a water source," Mnangagwa said. The government is prepared to finance the overall cost of this project. We want this water problem to be behind us, and a team will work on how much the switch will cost and everything that is needed. I close quote. So that is according to our president, President Emmerson Mnangagwa. And this, of course, the switch is meant to, to curb the water shortages and actually improve supply in Harare and surrounding areas.
We know everyone complains about Lake Chivero water, but we're hoping that I hope that it actually helps increase the water supply to suburbs around Harare. A very good morning to our viewers who are watching us on Facebook. Tanaka Siwawa, who's saying Vanutino Funduka. And then Henry Martin Gara, very good morning to you. He's saying Joram was released by the police after implicating Mnangagwa in a statement. Okay. And then Emmanuel Nyakonda. What up, fan? A very good morning to you, Emmanuel. So, well, that's Henry saying, guys, Joram
Boy.
boy. Functionalism rocks MDC in Mashingo. And this is from the Daily News. Fissures are growing in the opposition MDC in Mashingo province, where regional chairperson James Gumbo and former deputy youth minister Tongai Matutu have locked horns. This comes amid allegations that Matutu is making life difficult for Gumbo and his executive by sabotaging party programs in a bid to portray the chairperson as a failure in the eyes of the national leadership. Gumbo claimed Matutu has the backing of senior MDC officials who accused the province of not supporting them during the party's elective congress held in May. You know, factionalism is not something that, we all know which political party in the country that's linked to factionalism. Surprisingly, now it's coming next to the word MDC.
And just yesterday, we had a story, is it from the Daily News, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
where Chamisa was being said to be banking on the functionalism that is rocking ZANU-PF. But apparently,
Factionalism is rocking the Mashingo branch of his own party.
yeah.
A very good morning to Chabulani Mabasangue. Thank you very much for watching us.
Okay, still on the Daily News, nurses at HCC clinics declare incapacitation. City of Harare nurses yesterday declared incapacitation, with most of them not reporting for work, citing the worsening economic situation that has eroded their incomes. In a letter addressed to the City of Harare, the Zimbabwe Urban and Rural Council's Nurses Workers Union said its members were not able to render their services normally due to their incapacitation. And I quote, "Our members are now unable to render their services normally due to incapacitation from November 4, 2019, the letter read. So just yesterday also we had heard that, these hospitals, everyone
The
was going.
clinics, were now
Yes.
fully packed because
Exactly.
people can't get health services at the public hospitals. So now they're going to the council clinics, but now also the nurses at the council clinics are now saying that we are incapacitated as of the 4th, which is yesterday. And Emmanuel is saying, so the money that was put with computers in place goes for nothing. Why not renovate? Mufumira trial fails to take off. And that's the news day. It's still the Daily News. Former Public Service Minister Priska Mufumira and former Permanent Secretary Ngoni Masoka's trial was yesterday marred by confusion as prosecutors were undecided on who was supposed to preside over the case. Mufumira and Masoka are facing criminal abuse of office and money laundering charges relating to a $5 million loan extended from the National Social Security Authority (NASA) allegedly to buy air tickets for the ex-minister's daughter's wedding, and $6.5 million misappropriated in the Muzenya Gweru housing project. So simply because of the prosecutors present, they couldn't make a decision of who would preside over the case, hence the trial had failed to take off.
Yeah.
I give up. I honestly give up.
Still on the Daily News, Prince Harry invests in Matusadona. Britain's Prince Harry is the president of African Parks, a company that has acquired a stake in Matusadona National Park in Mashonaland West Province. Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority, ZimParks, has partnered African Parks in a bid to revamp the neglected wildlife sanctuary. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to be seeing a lot of developments in Matusadona as the prince
Has decided to invest more.
Yeah.
And Emmanuel is saying every system must put tools down. So that's in response to the nurses who have declared incapacitation, because Emmanuel, in a way, is making sense.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to think of the amount that these people are getting paid. Like, not these people, so many people. I won't talk about you, but I'm talking about the money that so many people are getting paid, especially the civil servants. And with the expenses and how things are going now, many of them are incapacitated.
Of course.
Despite the whole Zoop cause and everything, but it's pretty hard on many Zimbabweans. And now moving on to the news day, give ZEC power to postpone elections, CSOs. Civil society organizations, in collaboration with the Zimbabwe Election Support Network, ZESN, have come up with a draft electoral amendment bill, which will give the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, ZEC, a wide range of powers, including postponing elections. The draft bill, which was commissioned and handed over to House of Assembly Speaker Jacob Mudenda by ZESN, proposes a raft of changes to the current electoral laws to ensure smooth running of polls and an end to contested elections.
Do you agree that ZEC should be given powers to postpone elections?
I think it's, well, with the headline is just saying that, but then the draft of the amendment bill of the electoral regarding electoral laws in our country, I'm sure it will also mention how it has to be an independent party and it doesn't have the influence of be it the ruling party or whatever. And I think that's a good move, because with most of the organizations in Zimbabwe, the problem is that the government or the president will always have power, despite that you are the Human Rights Commission, despite that you're Zimbabwe Media Commission. So, and I think that it's very important to have those bodies remain independent.
Of course. So on condition that ZEC is independent, this will work.
It will work.
Yeah. Okay, so still on the daily news, on the news day actually, dialogue needed to break doctors and government impasse. And the story reads, doctors and their employer have been urged to engage in an honest dialogue aimed at ending the current impasse, which has halted operations in public hospitals and created chaos in the private sector, which is being swamped by patients. The Community Working Group on Health, which is mediating between the Zimbabwe Hospital Doctors Association and the Health Services Board, said there was need to resolve the matter urgently. And I quote, "We are saying to the government, let us open the dialogue doors by setting aside the disciplinary hearings and give dialogue a chance." CWGH Executive Director Itai Rusike told Newsday yesterday. So,
but then how do you have dialogue with the other party saying they're going to blacklist some of these doctors, that they can't work in the health sector anymore, and all of those comments? And I think also the other problem with, I don't mean to say this, the other problem with our government is that with some of those people, remember when we were talking about energy Mtodi's twist the other time, I'm saying you cannot be in that position of power and be saying certain things that sometimes in a way can actually make you inhuman. And because Zimbabweans are angry, Zimbabweans are struggling out there, and even doctors. So to then say to doctors, then they're going to be fired, they're going to be blacklisted, we're not going anywhere. Like, we're just, the government and the doctors are going round and round in circles. At the end of the day, it's me and Nicole and you suffering because you can't be going there. Well, for those who've got medical aids and can afford the private hospitals, good for them, but for the majority of the Zimbabweans, it's actually a bad development. It's a hassle. Still on the Newsday, confusion over new currency. Confusion reigns supreme ahead of the introduction of new coins and banknotes of the Zimbabwe dollar, with the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, RBZ, yesterday releasing a statement that it will be injecting new $2 bond coins into circulation by November 11 instead of $2 coins. Okay. Let me take that again.
yeah, the confusion is already started, you see.
Let me take that statement again. Confusion reigned supreme ahead of the introduction of new coins and banknotes of the Zimbabwe dollar, with the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe yesterday releasing a statement that it will be injecting new $2 bond coins into circulation by November 11 instead of $2 coins. In a public notice, RBZ Governor John Mangundya said the $2 coins will be used interchangeably with the $2 bond notes, which are already in circulation.
This is not right. This is not right. Because already, I think this is why you find that even next week there's going to be resistance because people are like, we don't want your money. We don't want this money. We will use our own. It's fine. You have the new one. Keep it. But we'll use the one that we already have, because there's a lot of confusion. And people are at a stage, where the little that you have, you need to hold on to it.
True.
So I'm not going to use it if I don't trust your money. So it kind of sucks to be in that position. But I guess we're going to have to see when Monday comes through.
True. Nicole, that's for you.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
But we read that story.
So
we'll move on to the next story. And well, that's all that we had for you. And that's there's one last story. Nicole, please take that one.
Okay. So still on the news day. The story reads: RG's officials corrupt, says ZHRC. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, ZHRC, has raised grave concern over rampant corruption, dereliction of duty and arrogance by staffers at the Registrar General's office. The Registrar General's office is responsible for issuing birth certificates, national identity cards, passports, citizenships, and death certificates. ZHRC Commissioner Joseph Kurebwa yesterday blasted officials from the RG's office for being corrupt and rude. I think every Zimbabwean who has taken an ID or who has taken a passport would have an idea roughly of how those guys treat you. It's like when you go, so that point where you actually have to place your thumb.
Oh, when they take your fingerprint.
Your fingerprint. So like, loosen it up. I'm like, that's how it is. Like, let it loose. Like, guys, it's necessary. Like, that's how it is. Like, I don't know why they do that.
And it's, I, myself, and me, told ourselves that we would never pay any extra for something. If it's $56, I'm going to pay $56. If it's $100 to get my license, I'm going to pay $100.
No extra money.
No extra money, Phil. But the sad part is sometimes you come and maybe you got a job and you want to travel to South Africa with your 3-month-old baby and you desperately need that passport, and Zimbabweans tend to then pay extra amounts, which sometimes are actually ridiculous, but because of the need and the desperation, they have to pay. So that was all that we had for you this beautiful Tuesday morning from our local papers.
Thank you so much for watching, and please do remember to subscribe on our YouTube page, like us on Facebook, and also follow us on our Twitter handle, takemag.tv.
And that was all from ourselves and the crew behind the scenes, and have a good day.